What is up, besties, and welcome back to another confessions video. As you can see, we are back in the filming room. A lot of you have been asking me, Jada, what's going on with the filming room? Why aren't you in the filming room? Do you still have the filming room? Yes, I still have it. It's in my house. Haven't been in it because it wasn't done, and it's still not done, but a lot of you were asking to see where we're at. So as you can see, finally got curtains so I can show you above my head. Still haven't figured out what's going on this wall. I think we're gonna put my YouTube plaque, but undecided. I want some other art there. I finally got the plants that I wanted. I really badly wanted Esquiletros, Monstera Esquiletros for my filming room. So I got my hands on a couple. I didn't know they'd be so difficult to get, but I got them. I also got new glasses and I also got new hair.
I lied.
So today we are going to film, like I said, a confessions video. I leave for vacation soon, so you'll get a confessions video this week, a confessions video next week, and there'll also be a re-upload from next week. The video that originally got copyright claimed, the claim got released, and I know a lot of you said you couldn't actually watch the video because of how distorted the clips were in the beginning, so I'm gonna re-upload it for y'all, and then we'll be back to regularly programmed content and some new exciting stuff. But let's get into these confessions. So if you're new to these kinds of videos, they are anonymous confessions from my lovely besties, my lovely subscribers. And some people need advice, some people don't. Sometimes I'm just reading a crazy story, but a lot of these ones are advice heavy. And I literally posted the link yesterday and over 100 of you added responses, which I very much appreciate. So let's get into it. So what are your pronouns? She, her, and she was 20 to 23 when this event happened. She says, "Hey bestie, I met this guy on a Facebook dating app. And when we were in person, the chemistry was extreme. We started officially dating after 2 months, but it then felt like he needed me more than I needed him. I already don't like that. He eventually started staying with me and my mom, but finances was his weak point."
We listened and were judging hard.
Y'all, girl, if you knew this man has problems with money, why would you let him move in? Don't let a man move in with you, period. In my opinion, I think if you're going to move in with a man, you get a place together. You don't let him move into your place. But also, if you know he's not good with money, don't let him live with you, because then you're going to be financially supporting both of you. But she says that she was still okay with that and felt like he could get on his feet, but later just felt like he was a roommate than a boyfriend. You found a hobosexual, girl. You found a hobosexual. He wasn't taking me on dates. The second date,
You done lost your damn mind.
I was told to dress up, and we went to a movie theater and a shady restaurant where I got food poisoning. He constantly wanted to drink, and so he's a hobosexual and he has an alcohol problem. He constantly wanted to drink and not paying for expenses for the house he was staying in. I told him he needed to get his stuff together if this was going to work out, but kept getting annoyed and frustrated with me. But I'm assuming she meant, but he kept getting annoyed and frustrated with me. Yeah, he's getting frustrated because he can't be a hobosexual anymore. I then was hit up by my ex from high school. Yeah, I know. And I started to emotionally cheat on him. Now, I don't support cheating. But if you're with a hobosexual, it's more like you have a child than it's like you have a man.
What are we going to do with that?
After I figured out I was emotionally cheating on him, I decided to break up with him, but he never really left. He would hang out with my mom and go to church. What the f***? Long story short, we eventually got back together after he said he would change and treat me better. His changes lasted about 3 months and he reverted back to his old self, and then I would emotionally cheat again. What the f*** are you guys doing? This is the craziest cycle ever. This time, he was cheating as well, but I could never find definitive proof other than contacts with weird names, always cutting off on the phone or silent, and blonde hair in the car, and seat laid all the way back. Not my hair, because I have black hair. We called it quits, but never fully let go, and the person I was seeing eventually turned out to be a real scumbag and hurt me a lot. Maybe told in another confession, but he was there for me afterwards. Now we are seeing each other again, and both have changed drastically. Should we give this relationship thing another chance or completely call it quits? This all happened over a span of 4 years. And they said, would you like advice regarding the situation? They said yes.
I'm going to preemptively apologize because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Peace and love, you know?
And when asked, is there anything else you'd like to say? Hello, just wanted to say that you're gorgeous and have an amazing light to you. Thank you for your hard work and dedication to these videos. All right, bestie, you're not going to like what I have to say. And I don't want to sound mean or harsh or rude. You need to be single. You need to be single. You need to get away from this man who treats you like absolute dog shit and is nice to you every once in a while so you keep coming back. Break up with him. End it. It's done. It's over as of today. Also, I just want to say, I am not any sort of professional. I'm not qualified to give you any advice. I'm just giving you the advice that I would want to hear if I was in these situations, okay? You don't have to listen to me. Maybe you shouldn't listen to me. I'm just a random girl on the internet. But I think you need to break up with him. I think you need to be single for a while. You sound very, very kind, very sweet, very considerate, very caring, and men will take advantage of that. In fact, anybody will take advantage of that if they can, if they want to, if they're not good people. He doesn't sound like a good person. The last person you were with does not sound like a good person either. This sounds like an awful situation for you to get back with him. I think you need to cut ties completely. There's no reason that this person needs to be in your life. I understand that he was there for you, but in my mind, he was just there for you because he was looking for an opportunity to slide back in and continue being a piece of because you've never held him to a higher standard. I don't think y'all need to be together. I don't think you should be friends with him. I don't think he should even be in your orbit. I think he should just off. And I think you should really work on some things. And there's nothing wrong with being single, like, at all, especially being young and single. I think there's like this weird stigma around it, but I think it can be really empowering. Like, being single for a long stretch of time, that's when I was able to really find myself, find my worth, find my values, find what I for sure stood for in relationships, but also just like in my personal life. No, especially because there's cheating and no. I think call it quits. I think there's no redeeming this situation. And I wish you the best of luck. And I hope that you find somebody who actually loves you and isn't just using you for a place to stay and financial support, because that's what this sounds like. Next confession is also from a girl bestie and says that this event happened when she was 30 years old to present. She says that my fiance's mom is a whole truck full of nuts. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Crazy in-laws. Ugh. Ugh. Disgusting. She wants to be the only person in his life that holds any value and also threatens anyone who becomes a target for her to freak out at him about. Examples. When I got pregnant with our child, she repeatedly asked him to get a paternity test. No, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. I mean, every single time she talked to him, she asked him to make me take a paternity test, which I never refused to do, by the way. He is the one who actually refused to do it because he knew the baby was his, but no matter how many times he told her, she would still push. He needs to cut that off. I don't care if that's his mama. Being mad disrespectful, so inappropriate. But in the middle of all that, she was apparently growing a mountain of audacity because she asked him to name our baby after her.
What an odd thing to say.
Not like a cute middle name or something. No, she wanted her full name to be our child's full name. But of course, she can't acknowledge that the same baby that she wants named after her may also be her son's child. What the She's a weirdo. Oh my gosh. This is the type of I talk about with boy moms. How are you going to have such an completely inappropriate relationship with your son to this extent? Like, this is crazy. This is very emotionally incestuous. Oh my God. Also, like, Loki doesn't sound like he's standing up for you enough in like the situation and putting up appropriate boundaries to where she would even feel like she has the space to pull this type of stuff. But also, like, you would have to be that shit crazy for cuckoo Cocoa Puffs to want a child that you don't think is related to you to be named after you. And she goes on to say, I mean, who wants a baby that quote unquote isn't a part of your family's DNA named after you? What the exactly? Another example would be that she completely kept him from his father growing up. Everything she could do to keep him away, she did, and made my fiance basically her partner. Like I said, emotionally incestuous. Leaning on him emotionally, even as a little boy, to support her. It's called emotional incest, and it's something that happens often to a lot of kids, unfortunately. That is true. It's very unfortunate, and it can be hard to break that, especially when you've been molded into that from such a young age. She convinced him that his father didn't want him or love him, despite his father trying over and over again to spend time with him. He lost years with his dad because of her ego, and now he's trying to make up for lost time, rebuilding a relationship with his dad. It's good that they were able to reconnect, but insane that she would do all of this. But his mom is not happy and won't let him have a relationship with both her and his dad in peace. She wants him to choose between two sides of the family. It's really taking a toll on him. He wants both, but is realizing she won't let it happen. I, of course, as his partner, want to go off on her, but I'm trying to let him handle it on his own. She has done so many other damaging things, but for the sake of not going too far in, I'll keep it here. What would you do? Would you address the mother when she's berating your partner and attacking him for wanting relationships outside of her, or would you let it go and let your partner try to work it out alone? Would you like any advice regarding the situation? She says yes. And when asked, is there anything else you'd like to say? She just says, I love watching your videos. I think you are so funny, smart, and absolutely gorgeous. Thank you. Your videos have been such a highlight of my week, and since I just recently found you, I've been able to binge so much of your content. Thank you for being you and give something to the world that is positive and beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate that. This is a really rough situation. This is a really rough situation. But you're asking me how I would handle it. I think that you've done the right thing by trying to give your partner the space to work out his feelings about the situation and, set those boundaries. I think that he's the only one who can truly set those boundaries and figure out what he wants from that relationship, because it is his mom. But I wouldn't be afraid to voice my opinion to him and let him know, like, you need to take a hard stance on this. And if you need to go to therapy, if you need to talk it out with a professional to figure out exactly how to go about it, but you need to do something, because now the way that she treats him is bleeding into the relationship that you guys have and potentially will traumatize the child. And the same thing that happened to him can happen to the child. It's like a cycle that needs to be broken. It sounds to me like what I would do in this situation, like say if it was my mom, I'm cutting you off. We're having no contact or very, very minimal contact, where everything is completely under my control because you don't respect me, you don't respect my partner, and that's not okay. That's the person that I'm choosing to spend my life with. You are my mother. I have more obligation to my life partner than I have to my mother. That's just how I personally see it. If she is berating him and attacking him in front of you, then you absolutely have a right to step in and defend him. But he also needs to be there to back you up in those situations if that's what you decide to do. Because like I said, at the end of the day, that's his mom. You can yell at her, you can cuss her out, you can have all these boundaries, do all of that. But if he's not following suit, then nothing's going to change. And then she's going to be able to villainize you in her mind even more if he's not standing up for you also, right? Or standing up for himself even. And it sounds like there's a lot of childhood trauma things that he needs to sort out. But in my opinion, the best thing would be no contact or very minimal contact until she can get her together. And if she doesn't get it together, then unfortunately she doesn't get the rights or any privileges of being in your fiance's life or your child's life, because this is just very unfair to your partner, but more unfair to you and the child that's coming into the situation. Because can you imagine bringing a baby into this dynamic? Like, that is not good for anybody involved. And even though your fiance has an obligation to you, he also has an obligation to the child and doing what's best for the child. And what's best for the child is to not be around this sort of toxic, chaotic, and crazy ass environment. But yeah, bestie, I wish you all the best, and I hope that this gets sorted out. And I'm so sorry that you're in this situation. All right, we have another female bestie, she, her. She says that this happened when she was 25 years old. And she says, okay, so I just need a very reasonable woman's opinion on this. You think I'm a reasonable woman? I'm flattered. I'm flattered. Hear that? Reasonable woman. But she says, I just recently started a new job and am away from my partner, unfortunately. Obviously, it would be easier on me to make some friends at work while I'm here, so I've been sort of trying to do that. I work with this one guy, and he was the only person I felt like I could be friends with immediately because he reminded me of another close friend I have. I told my partner about him, and he's like, that's great, I'm happy you're making friends. I know it's easier that way for you since you're alone and you like connecting people you work with. Very sweet, very understanding as always. So one day, the guy asks if I would like to hang out with him, and I told him some generic vague yeah answer, but didn't know if I actually would. I talked to my partner about it, telling him that something about hanging out with another guy felt a little weird, especially since my partner isn't anywhere near at the moment. He said he trusted me and that he understood that I'd need to hang out with someone out here eventually, so I shouldn't worry about it. I'm a classic overthinker though, and I was worried doing that would make our 5-year relationship rocky. I don't know why, but it just worried me because I don't know if I'd be super comfortable if he was in the same position. I can tell you right now I wouldn't be. There's nothing wrong with being friendly with your coworkers. Obviously, you have to work with them, but I don't think that's something I would personally be comfortable with if my partner wanted to hang out alone with a female coworker that I don't know without me. Crazy girls unite! But everybody's different. Anyways, I still haven't hung out with him and gave him a few more of those answers where you don't totally shut them down, but you don't plan to go through with it like, yeah, we totally should, and have left it at that. One encounter he said was that my ring was interesting because it's not a diamond and said the wrong stone. I figured it was dark, so I already know where this is going. He's trying to be slick and touch you. I figured it was dark, so he couldn't see it was an emerald and probably didn't actually know gemstone, so I corrected him and put my hand up to his eyes. I started to pull away and he said, "Wait, really?" and straight up grabbed my hand to look at the ring closer. It was weird because we don't know each other like that, but whatever. Some people don't think of that like anything. So I figured a few seconds of him holding onto my hand while he looked at my wedding ring was whatever. I don't know if I really like that. Why are you touching me? Why are you touching me? But I felt like something was not right about it and couldn't place it still, so I didn't hang out with him after that. Smart. Trust your instincts. I feel like throughout just the story so far, you know kind of how you feel about it, and you need to validate your own feelings and stand on that, no matter what your partner says. Then, when I finally started considering actually hanging out recently, because that feeling mostly went away, things kind of got weird. We would walk out of work together before we went to our cars, and one day when we needed catching up to our coworkers, as they headed out, one of them said, "Oh, look, there they are," to another guy, and they both kind of exchanged a look. Now they think y'all are bumping coochies. I thought maybe I was reading too much into it, but then I said hey to them, and they kind of looked at the guy and then gave another look to each other, and one of them said under his breath, "See, I told you they'd be together." Oh, brother.
Drake? Drake?
I tried to move past that, but then the last time me and the guy worked together, he randomly said, "You look really nice tonight." I think you have very pure, genuine intentions. I don't think he has the same. I thought I heard him incorrectly, so I said, "What did you say?" And he said it again, so I just said thanks and made a joke about sleep deprivation being my ideal look. Whatever, that's nice. Friends can compliment friends. I think friends can definitely compliment friends, but I think it's more than that for him. Then, later that night, us and some other coworkers were talking about relationships and stuff, so I made a joke about him having a type and then asked if that was accurate. He says something along the lines of, "No, not really." So I asked him what his type was, and I swear he said married. Married? What the f***? Where are you guys finding these freak-a-leaks? Makes me a little glad I don't really go anywhere often, because what the f*** is this? That same night, I had been talking about my partner, as always, and it just felt like he was choosing not to remember his name. Spoke to another guy I've really been getting along with, and he has zero trouble remembering my partner's name and remembering it when I've only said it a handful of times compared to the other guy. So I just kind of felt like the single guy was purposefully choosing not to remember. I don't know. I thought that maybe it was the guy that was single. That is weird, but with all of this that's happened, especially the married part, it has just turned me away from even considering hanging out with him at all. There have been a few other things like that when he was trying not to outright ask my partner's race. Let's be real. He said ethnicity, but that's not something he wanted to know. When I said black, he suddenly went quiet like I had said something wrong. Oh, God. Oh! So yeah. All of that has happened, and the being weird about mentioning my partner is black was the icing on the cake. So I just wanted to ask you, am I overreacting? Were all of those things red flags? I definitely have zero intention now to be anywhere near alone with him, but like, why would you have felt comfortable hanging out one-on-one with a person who is sexually attracted to your gender, and why? Why do you think I felt weird about hanging out with him before any of this happened? I just feel like as a woman, making friends is sometimes a tightrope walk, especially when it's making friends with hetero men, to be honest. Like, I believe women and men can be friends, but in this case, me and this guy cannot, because my gut feeling says that the single guy would read into any sort of friendship from me as anything else. I don't know if you'll actually read this, but thank you for even considering my story. I love your videos and what you do. I'm so happy to be a bestie. I'm sorry I don't write well, but I hope everything is going well for my favorite Canadian. And would you like any advice regarding the situation? They said yes. Okay. I think, like I said, you need to trust your gut. If you have a weird feeling, follow that. Me personally, maybe this is controversial, I don't know. I just feel like when I'm in a relationship, I won't go out of my way to really like forge friendships with people who are of the same gender as my partner. That's just something that I personally do because, like you're saying, hetero men can be very, very weird and read into things. And in my experience, I've only had like a handful in my whole life, only had about a handful of men who I was genuinely friends with. And there was like, they didn't want anything more than that. The rest of them all had ulterior motives and they always wanted something else. Even if it wasn't like a relationship, they just wanted to like hook up, you know? So I think it'd be very difficult, but this person sounds like someone you need to completely avoid. The fact that they were weird when you mentioned the race of your partner, the fact that they said that their type was married women.
Disgusting.
What an odd thing to say.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I also think that it's so refreshing to hear that your husband is not, freaked out about any of this, or not freaked out, but he's not going out of his way to be like overly controlling and weird about the situation. He just is very supportive of you doing what's best for you, and he completely trusts you, which I love. I love. And I'm not trying to discourage you from making friendships, but it's very clear that this person does not have good intentions. If I have a friend who's been a friend before I got into the relationship, and that's a dude, that's cool, but and like hanging out one-on-one, whatever, it's established, it's good. But new friendships, it's kind of questionable. It's very, very hard. It's very, very hard to decipher if they just want to be friends or if it's something more. It sounds though like the second guy you talked about in the story, he sounds like he would just definitely want to be friends. And I'm sure there's other people that you work with, like women and stuff, who you can also be friends with and feel comfortable. Because this is just, it's a mess. It's a mess. Why do I think that you felt weird about hanging out with him before any of this happened? Because I think you had a gut feeling. You kind of knew that something was off. And that's why you never hung out with him, even though your partner was completely fine with it. You knew something was off. It didn't happen yet. So you didn't have evidence, but you don't always need evidence. You can just feel something is off and move away from that. Yeah, I would keep things very like cordial with him. Obviously you work with him, so I would just keep it like strictly coworker, strictly business, and not do anything else with this freak of a man. And when said, is there anything else you'd like to say? She said, thank you, you're the best. Thank you. I just want to hear how you navigate relationships in the world as a woman, especially in the workplace, since I work with a ton of men and only always a handful of women, and very, very few of those people are queer like me, so they don't get it. Sending you all the positive vibes. Happy Pride Month. To be honest, now that I'm thinking about it, most of the places that I have worked, I mainly worked with women. So I never really had this problem. And the few men that I did work with, I think it was established like fairly early that it was just friends and there was no further interest in that. Sure, things may have gotten a little bit flirty with some of them, but I was single and they were single, so it was fine. But yeah, with coworkers, I've never been in this situation. And again, at the time that I was in these situations where it's like more flirty or whatever is going on, I was never in a relationship and they weren't in a relationship either. So there was no real concern about this. I don't think there's anything wrong with you wanting and being open to being friends with men. I just think that there has to be, and it's so annoying that you even have to do this, but that there has to be a longer vouching process just to make sure that they actually just want to be friends and nothing more. But I also think that I'm very much the type where if I don't have a lot of friends, I'm cool with that. Or if I don't have any friends, I'm cool with that. But I understand not everybody's like that. So I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to be friends with your coworkers or making friends that way. Again, just might have to vouch them out for a little bit longer. But this guy, definitely not allowed to be friends with in my mind, just because you already feel uncomfortable. I hope you get the situation figured out, bestie. But your feelings are valid, and always listen to your gut instincts, even if you don't have the tangible evidence, the tangible proof that something is wrong yet. All right, we've got another confession from a female bestie, and she says that she was 17 years old when this happened. And the situation is, a guy fell in love with me about a year ago. However, I have issues with feeling connected to people emotionally, vulnerability, etc., so I assumed he wasn't actually serious. We would still talk as good friends, but he started isolating himself for a couple weeks every now and then. I was fine with that, but I wasn't fine with not getting any heads up beforehand, you know? When we didn't speak for maybe 2 months and he didn't even text me on my birthday, I just assumed he didn't want to be friends with me anymore and unadded him on everything, which more than fair. Now that it's been a year, I still think of him. He was really awesome as a friend, and I think I might actually love him back, which is a big thing for me, knowing I've never really been in love before. Problem is, we haven't spoken since then, so it's been about a year. I check on his reposts from time to time, and roughly 50 to 60 are very clearly about me.
Allegedly, 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 allegedly.
I know he still loves me, but he doesn't realize that I unadded him because he wasn't giving me the vibes that he even wanted me as anything. While I don't believe him at fault here, it still low-key hurts. I miss him deeply, and I don't know how to get back in touch. I know dude's not a mind reader, but I don't really want to be the one reaching out first since this whole thing started because he couldn't give me a basic heads up. I'm not one to chase, but damn. And then when asked, would you like any advice regarding the situation, she says yes.
Be nice. I'm finding
I think that you need to figure out if you really are in love with him or if you're just in love with the idea of him. Because if he's just ghosting, like that's...
So I am confusion.
It doesn't sound like you guys were actually connected for very long. The communication wasn't really there. It doesn't really sound like you're in love with him. But if you think you are and that's something you want to explore, all you can do is reach out and hope for the best. Reach out and have no expectations that he is going to reach back out to you, because he might not. And the thing about you thinking that 50 to 60% of his reposts are about you, there's no way for you to really know that. It might be about somebody else, and I know that that's really hard to hear, but it might be about someone else. It might not actually be about you. But if you think you're in love with him and you want to pursue things, you need to be the one to initiate that first initial contact back. You don't have to be the one chasing him or hounding him down or anything like that, but you definitely need to be the one to contact him first, especially because you unadded him on everything, right? But I don't know. I don't think that's chasing. I think that's just being upfront and honest about how you're feeling. But at the same time, if you don't want to do that, that's more than valid. If I were in your situation, I might just move on, to be honest. But sending a message, reaching out to him can't hurt, and seeing where things go from there, and genuinely working on your vulnerability and allowing yourself to be emotionally open might also be the way to go, whether it's with him, with a friend, with another partner, just kind of working on that. Next one, also from a female bestie. She says that when she was 16, she had a neighbor growing up who got mad about everything that she did, including riding my bike, so I put chocolate on her lawn where her dog was.
Electric chair.
Her dog ate it and died a couple days later. I don't feel bad.
Oh, they're going to prison. They're going to prison.
Bitch, go to hell.
Would you like any advice regarding the situation? They said yes. Get help. That's my advice regarding the situation. Get help. You're mad at this lady, so you killed her dog and you don't feel bad? I'm scared of you. Next one is also from a female bestie. She says that she was 15 when this happened. I had a creepy gym teacher when I was in high school, and I was essentially his favorite. Oh, brother. Gifts, affection, money, everything you could think of a groomer doing, he did. We ended up doing things, and his wife found out and told my mom, and I got in trouble, but they didn't know I was seeing him on the side for years. Anyway, they got divorced and I married him.
I think that's kind of sad.
Would you like any advice regarding the situation? Yes. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Love your videos, queen. XOXO. If you love my videos, queen, you already know what I'm going to say. Get away from this man. Get away from this man immediately. Do not spend any more time with this man. Do not have children with this man. Do not do anything with this man. Get away from him. He groomed you. He groomed you. You acknowledge that he groomed you. And I'm not blaming you because you were a child. You were groomed. But now that I don't know if you're an adult. I don't know how old you are now. You didn't say. But you need to get away from this man. This is a very scary situation. This is very, very scary. And get away from him. That's all I could really think to say. Get away from him. Get away from him now. This is so insane. Recognize that you're a victim in all of this, but this is not a man that you need to be with. This is not a man that you need to be around. You don't need to have any contact with this fool. Get away from him. Another female bestie, she says that she was 12 when this happened, and her mom caught her catfishing.
Wow. Guru Neve.
My God. She said, I was 12 and I got in trouble one day, so she took my phone. She saw me texting a guy who was 16 while I was 12. She was so confused because I used a fake name and was texting him freaky nasty and cursing. I got in so much trouble, but we never spoke about it again. She also outed me to him and I never heard from him either. Having unsupervised internet in the 2000s to 2010 was a wild time. I don't know if I really had unsupervised internet access like that, but I would agree with you. Says that doesn't want any advice. Love you, girly. That's crazy. Catfishing at 12? Do you still catfish?
Quickly.
Do you need help? And just morph into Dr. Phil? All right, finally we got a male bestie. We got a he-they, okay? He says that he was 21 years old when this event happened. He says, my boyfriend has cheated on me multiple times and we are still together and are even planning on getting married next year. No, 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 no. To be continued in the next confessions video.